So, hello everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Dr. David Walls-Kaufman. I'm a chiropractor in DC on Capitol Hill. And I started Tai Chi when I was 16, and I practiced it for about 5 years. And I fell into fascination with a man I call my Tai Chi grand teacher, Professor Cheng Man-Ch'ing, who died in 1975. And he is credited with largely being the most important person to introduce Tai Chi to the United States. He's credited with probably about 300,000 students at this point in time. He arrived in 1965. He got in trouble with the government in Taiwan. Chiang Kai-shek was sort of out of the loop in terms of the government. And his son was running things, and his son was a bit of a corruptnik. No one really knows exactly why Professor did this, but he was Lady Chiang Kai-shek's personal Chinese brush painting teacher. And so he was headed home after her lesson, and Chiang Kai-shek said, maybe I'll go, I'll catch the pedicab with you. So he sat in the pedicab with him, and the professor said, let's get you a melon in the market. And so they went over to the market, and Chiang Kai-shek said, yeah, give me a couple of winter melons. And he got a couple of dimes ready to pay for it, and the guy said, it's $3. And he said, $3? Used to be 20 cents. What's going on? So he made some inquiries, and then Chiang Kai-shek's son came to Professor and came to his house and basically said, you better get out of the country quickly if you and your family want to be safe. So he was thinking about coming to San Francisco since it was closer to Taiwan. And there was a huge Chinese community in San Francisco. And the New York people wanted him there too, because they knew that Professor Cheng Man-Ch'ing was a living treasure. He was really a modern Leonardo da Vinci, what the Chinese call a master of 5 excellences: painting, poetry, calligraphy, Chinese traditional medicine, and Tai Chi. And some other things on top of that, but he was renowned for that. And so the New York crowd wanted him too, because there was a huge Chinese community in New York as well. And so Professor said, yeah, San Francisco's closer to Taiwan. When I go back home, it'll be a shorter plane trip. So somebody that knew him in New York happened to be the curator at the Columbia University libraries. And so Columbia University is a very old Jesuit school. And the Jesuits have had a footprint in the Orient for, I don't know, since what, the 1500s? So this gentleman said to Professor, when you want to have like the Yellow Emperor's classic on medicine, and you send a request to the National Museum in Taipei, how long do you have to wait for a book? How long would you have to wait for that book? And he said, a month. He said, I tell you what, if you come to New York, if you want that book, I'll get it to you that day. So Professor made up his mind to leave San Francisco and settle in New York. And all of the top martial artists in New York, he was 65 years old at that time, so all of the top martial artists in New York, they all knew each other. And through the grapevine, they were telling each other, have you seen this old man in Chinatown? Go down and meet this old man in Chinatown. So one of the most illustrious martial artists in New York was Stanley Israel. I believe he was a judo world champion a couple of times. If he wasn't world champion, he was way up there. And so Stanley made his way down to Chinatown, and he stood with Professor, and so they stood like this. And so Mort Saul, he told Stanley, said, just make a move on it. And so Stan reached for him, and Professor just had his, index finger in his gut and just put it there like that. And Stanley stopped. And so Mort's kind of giggling, and he says, "What's going on, Stanley? What's wrong? Why don't you do something? Hey, Stanley, what you doing? Why don't you do something?" And Stanley started laughing. He said, "He's got me on the edge of a cliff. If I make one move, he'll push me over the cliff." So there's a law in physics that says, if you control the center of the object, you control the object. So, every movement that we make, it starts at our physical center. It's commanded by our brain. Our brain lays the foundation for the movement. But, like astronauts, when they're in space, if they make a movement, nothing happens, right? They're floating and nothing happens because they can't push off of anything. So your center is there, and that, everything up here is going to, go from that. But the lower part is laying the foundation. And so the brain says, okay, we're going to go this way. Let's lay this foundation so that we can push off and go this way. So if you can control the object, you control the object. And Tai Chi has been called the art of awareness because it goes in the opposite direction of everything that we know. It goes towards relaxation, towards softening, towards slowing down, maybe even not moving at all. So with that awareness, Professor just put his knuckle close to Stanley's center, and just took this world-class judo guy and just put him there so that his body couldn't move around it. So if you can get there close enough, truly enough on that center, and hold it there with enough force that they can't force you off of it, they're kind of pinned there like a little baby. And that's what happened with Stanley. So, and Professor was 65 years old. He died at 75. He was poisoned by wood alcohol accidentally. He left this incredible legacy of Tai Chi. And I fell into fascination with the man. And when I was a young man, I was a very gifted artist. And so I thought, maybe how are you going to make a living in art? Because you can see like computers and things coming and stuff like that. So I thought, I'm going to emulate Professor John because I love music, I love painting, I love writing. I thought, gee whiz, and I do Tai Chi. That's 4 things. If I do 5 things, I can, kind of emulate the old man. What can I do? Well, I'm not interested in Chinese traditional medicine, and I'm not interested in Western medicine. But I had a mentor who was off to become a chiropractor, and I thought, that's kind of cool. Physical, done with your hands, really, really neat. So that's what I did. And I stopped Tai Chi after 5 years because I was at chiropractic school, and everybody got up at 7:30 in the morning for their first class. And I wasn't a morning person, so that meant 6 o'clock, And I couldn't do any Tai Chi before that, so I quit. And I said, I'll quit while I'm in Tai Chi school. And then I'll go and I'll study from Professor's senior student in San Francisco. But that hiatus from Tai Chi lasted 10 years. So in 1988, I decided to get back to Tai Chi. So that was 31 years ago. And I always was afraid of getting back into Tai Chi because I knew how seriously I took it. Professor Jung's secretary, Tam Gibbs in New York, he was felt so blessed to have Tai Chi in his life that his little honorarium for Tai Chi every day was to always wear a tie. So every day, Saturday or Sunday, he was always there with his tie. And so these old videos of Professor, he's doing translations and secretarial work. He's always got his tie. So I knew that I was going to do Tai Chi, a lot. So I was kind of intimidated myself away from it because I said I'm going to do at least an hour of the hardest practice I know of to do a day. So when I got back into it, very quickly I was doing even more than that. And I just did it because I was fascinated with it, and I knew the stories about Professor, and Professor's first important American student was a man named Dr. Robert Smith. And he is still the #1 scholar on Chinese martial arts in the world. R.W. Smith, Robert Smith, you find his books, and if you're interested in the subject, make sure you get them, because they are the gold standard still. So if you look at the Harvard Medical School Book of Tai Chi, it'll give you a little treatment on what are the world's most valuable exercises. Can you guess, like, the top 5?
Push-ups.
Push-ups? Push-ups are darn good. They're not listed as a separate category. That would be calisthenics.
Yoga.
Yoga? Yoga's #2.
Swimming.
Swimming's #3.
Walking.
Walking is kind of on par with swimming.
Meditation.
Meditation isn't in there,
Breathing.
which shocked me. Breathing doesn't get in either. Tai Chi is #1. The medical research is sort of divided into 2 camps on Tai Chi. Some say it's good, but it's not as good as things like jogging and things like that. And then there's a larger school that says nothing comes close. Tai Chi is up there all by itself, then yoga, then swimming and walking, and meditation is kind of like down with everything else, which shocked me. Because, Tai Chi is moving meditation. So if you get an even more pure form of meditation, shouldn't that be higher to the source and, get you more benefit? It doesn't. I was shocked by that. So it seems like, whatever made us likes us to meditate, which I equate with prayer, clearing the mind, sort of removing the skin and becoming one with everything. To me, that's sort of what these things are. But then if you take that mindset, that very clear, pure, quiet mindset, and you fuse it to movement, it becomes something special that nothing else duplicates. And if you study Tai Chi a little bit more deeply, you see that, wow, and they're barely scratching the surface as far as I'm concerned in the medical studies, because maybe they do it for a year or 2 years or 6 months, and they see these incredible benefits. But, if you do it over a longer period of time, it just becomes a world unto itself. And for me, it really is the vitalistic world, the holistic world, where, we're fascinated in the West with mechanism. Because it's simple, it's reliable, and you can do some commercial things with it that with mechanism, and it all fits nicely together. And so the tendency is for the West to sort of laugh at religion and spirituality. Even though we have giants in science which say, don't you dare do that. I mean, how stupid can you be? You don't believe in God? You don't think everything out here is pointing to God? Don't be stupid. But the mechanists do that, because you look at the world as a machine. But clearly we're not machines. In chiropractic comes from the vitalist school. Living things are vital. And they obviously have an organic form. And what determines disease and human breakdown is not germs and viruses, because our bodies are loaded with germs and viruses. Did you know that? 1 out of every 10 cells in the body is a bacteria, and if you didn't have it, you'd die within hours. 1 out of 3 cells in the gut is a bacteria, and if you didn't have it, you'd die within hours. And the viruses are all over the place too. They kind of live like farm animals in a symbiotic relationship. And so a guy back in the 1800s named Henri Beauchamp, he went against the medical grain, and he said, look, this Cook's postulates of disease plus body, or body plus germ equals disease, is absolutely ridiculous. The germs are all over the place, and they're our friends. He says what's important is host health. And so in 1935, the chiropractors talked about it in 1895, but medicine discovered it in 1935 with Hans Selye, and he said that the cause of disease is stress. And then in 1967, Watmore and Coley substantiated that with another, there were 2 Nobel Prizes for medicine. They said, yes, stress, and it dysfunctionalizes the brain. It creates informational problems in the brain so that the body becomes dysfunctional in its processes. And a healthy body, which acts perfectly, and the nervous system, the brain and the nervous system, which are kind of like the localized body or the localized God inside the body, they run it perfectly. So stress moves the needle towards dysfunction, and the body literally starts tripping, becoming clumsy from the inside out. And the brain knows it. You can't fool the brain. It knows everything. And every 60 trillion cells in the body, they're sentient. They all have their own intelligence. They know it too. So all 60 trillion cells, they know something's going wrong, but they can't fix it. They tipped the scales. It snapped, and now it's dysfunctional. And now the body goes into a stress response. So, excuse me.
Sorry.
Do you want to share with the class? Okay. All right. So, I was kidding. I looked up and back like I was really chastising you. So, if you look at things from this vitalist perspective, Henri Beauchamp, chiropractic, and all these people in medicine that are coming to this now, stress is the cause of disease and body breakdown and faster aging. And so that, to me, when you look at it that way, then I think that science and the world, everywhere you look, it affirms that there is a God, and that there is an order, and that it is intelligence. It is intelligent, and that for a lifespan we're imbued with this thing that lets us retaliate and respond to entropy and forces from the outside that are trying that will tear us apart. If that vital thing leaves, we'll be disintegrated in 3 months. So something very powerful and organized, keeps us substantial and keeps us healthy against that for our lifespan. And stress dims that light until we're gone. And Tai Chi is like, to me, it's just an essential piece of this vitalist thing, because you've got diet, you've got exercise, and all the research is saying that Tai Chi is the best exercise to do. And like even in China, a lot of people will laugh at you and say, "You do Tai Chi? Yeah, that's for old people." But one of my senior students, he has a martial arts studio here in Northern Virginia, and he's done everything: Krav Maga, karate, judo, jiu-jitsu. And he told me, he says, "Teacher, I've done it all, and there is nothing that is as hard as Tai Chi." And incidentally, that's why I think that there's 2 sort of schools in medical research. There's sort of like the people who are looking at people doing New Age Tai Chi, which is kind of like a silly kind of, slow motion dance. And then you have old school Tai Chi, which, really, its central message is Chirku. Chirku. Eat bitter. So, stand on one leg and get in your posture and stand there and let it burn. To build up your Kung Fu. Remember Kwai Chang Caine in the 1970s, Kung Fu? Kung Fu has many different meanings. It's one of the most important words in Chinese culture, Kung Fu. It means time. It means effort. It means concentration. It means constitution. It means power. And so all of those things come from that tradition of what happens when we put movement, in particular slow movement, together with meditation. That very clean, the cleanest use of the mind. And so some schools of Tai Chi, they don't even have postures where people do movement. They just do standing. And they go everywhere that everybody else does. So the slow movements of Tai Chi, why does it have those slow movements? It's because you're trying not to break the thread of this internal energy that the Chinese call Qi. Another thing that mechanist science laughs at, but medical science doesn't anymore, they call it subtle energy. And they measure where it is, you know, on the spectrum of light and sound. It's, you know, I can't remember where on the spectrum it is, but they've got it all mapped out, what those frequencies are. So the body is extraordinarily sensitive to these subtle energies. And this is interesting because, you know, in Tai Chi, part of the thing about Tai Chi is what they call listening energy. So the martial arts component of Tai Chi comes from that meditation, that quietness. And it's what the Chinese call Tingjin, listening energy. So that when a person comes at you, you get in contact with them or you come in close proximity and they say you can hear what their intentions are, grabbing you by the throat or grabbing you, you know, doing something with you. And, you know, it really does seem to be true. And then you look at the research on subtle energy and how the brain is, has huge aptitudes that, you know, we've barely scratched or understood. But it has huge aptitudes for subtle energy and becoming sensitive to subtle energy. Since everything is connected, if something goes good or something goes wrong, you know, it's got a timeline. Something's happening, something's there, something's changing, and you know, before we see it in this, you know, big world of ours, these subtle energy changes are the things that the brain does to move the foot over here in order for me to take another step this way. So all of these things are occurring, and they're occurring in the body in preparation. So the meditation, Robert Smith this was, as I said, you know, Smith's book are the gold standard on these Chinese martial arts. And he was Professor's first important American student. And some of my classmates of his, they describe him as just a human dynamo. You know, one of those people that you get the sense that he's read every book ever written. And on the subject of Qi, he said that the only place because subtle energy was not around when he was kind of paying attention to things. But he said the only place in the West that talked about Qi, well, said first of all, the American Indians did. Their term was that which moves. And somebody nodded. Have you heard anything more? Any other knowledge about that? Yeah. And so Smith said that the only other source that he saw of people in the West talking about Qi, describing Qi and its cultivation and its method of cultivation, were Franciscan monks in northern Italy around the 1200s. Other than that, you know, you can go back to like the 600s, and I read in a very interesting book, and he described, he printed a passage of a monk from the 600s describing meditation and Qi. And, you know, if you go into that discipline and learn anything about it, it's like, wow, you know, nothing's changed there. So the Tai Chi it goes against everything that we do. Everything that we do, everything that we think of as exercise in the West, it goes categorically against it. In exercise, we want to go more strongly. We want to go more quickly. We want to go harder. We want to go longer. There, Tai Chi won't contradict. But Tai Chi is very slow. It's completely relaxed. And in fact, the Chinese have a concept of Fang Sung, which is actually two concepts. Fang is to relax, and Sung is to sink. So soften and sink. So it's kind of like, I tell my students, it's kind of like you want to become Godzilla. You don't want to be relaxing and floating. You want to be relaxed and heavy, kind of like Godzilla. You know, imagining how Godzilla would move. Or your body is a waterfall, and all the, you know, iota are just, you know, flowing down, cascading down like a waterfall, non-stop. And it correlates with the chakras that come from the other disciplines, and it focuses on one of those chakras because it's the biggest, it's the most reliable, the easiest to find, and it corresponds with the center of gravity. And the Chinese call it the Dantian. I don't know what the Indians call it. So the Dantian, so you feng sung, you keep the body unusually erect, as if you're held up by a string. You get as meditative as you can, as soft and heavy as you can, everything streaming down, and it's never depleted, it just keeps streaming down like a shower that never stops. And you think about the Dantian. And then you can hold a posture here, or a posture here. As I said, this is like the start of it, is holding these postures. And or one-legged postures there. And or stringing them together in a choreographed movement that corresponds with moving the chi through the body. And the movements, unlike all other exercise, are not symmetrical. You only have this single whip posture on this left side. You don't have it on the right side. And Professor said that's because the internal organs are not symmetrical. And most importantly, you're moving the chi through the internal organs so that the body gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So I've never come and seen the chairs here. If you guys want to stand up, we can do some, I can show you some postures.
Do you want us to move the chairs out of the way?
That's legal. We'll just, you know, fill in the gaps. As a friend of mine said, ice cream always did. If you don't have room, you can still eat the ice cream. It fills in the cracks. So
Excuse me.
we're moving slowly so that we don't break that thread of qi. The Chinese say everybody has qi. It's intrinsic to life. And the Chinese say that if you don't cultivate the qi, it kind of leaves you. I don't really think it really leaves you, but it just gets, it becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. They say it's strongest in a baby, and that's one of those delightful things about the energy of a baby is a big ball of qi. So, so we move slowly and sinking down and feng sung and thinking about the Dantian. Don't forget the Dantian. And don't forget to be upright. So we'll start out and we'll have our feet shoulder width apart like this. And the introductory posture of Tai Chi is just to lift the arms up like this. And they come up no higher than your shoulders. Very good. Wow, everybody's there. Can I hire you all to be in my beginner's class? You'll be really trouble-free. So, and then the hands extend like this. And then the hands come back like that. And they kind of droop down so that you're kind of like a begging puppy here. And then it's like your hands go over the edge of a table and down. So that's the first introductory posture. I call it a loop because you can just kind of do it over and over again. And you can try and get in that meditative state of mind, just heavy, mind clean, connecting with all things. Don't forget the Dantian. Make the body heavy. Don't let it float. Flow down through your feet and connect to the ground. Don't forget this. Another important thing in Tai Chi is the step. And I think this is why Tai Chi has this unparalleled benefit for the brain and the body, is the stepping. Because you've heard of the old saying that you only use 8% of your brain. You ever hear that? You only use 8% of your brain? That's a lie. That's for thinking. But the body doesn't waste anything. It doesn't have any no waist in here, not even the appendix. The brain's biggest job, its most difficult task, is movement, posture, alignment. And so that's why when stress pushes the needle and cracks through and you become dysfunctional, one of the first things to go is your movement becomes inefficient. Your posture starts going. And one of the stress responses that is classic is a straightening out of the neck and the head coming from, the head weighs as much as a bowling ball. So it comes from off the top of the posture here and starts going forward. And so as life continues, we have people going farther and farther forward like this. Because they never knew that, yes, it's diet, exercise, and structure, and the biological intelligence of the body go hand in hand there. So the body starts going like this. And they become more and more frail in their movements. And so the research says then you see their knees kick forward like this, like they had a walker. So then, they're going like this. And then before long they need a cane because, they're so crippled in their movements. And after that they need a walker. So that posture is very, very important, and it's, the head coming forward like that is not desirable. So the step in Tai Chi, so the step in Tai Chi, so when we step, it's just like any other step, and you put your heel down like this, and then you put your foot flat down like you were stepping on it like that, like any other step, except here you step empty. It's a false step. You step out, you put the foot down, but there's no weight in it. So your body doesn't move and go towards that foot. It just goes there, keep the body upright. You pick up the foot an inch or a half an inch, keep it right there, put it down, and then slide it back. And then you can take it again, step out, put the foot down, flatten it out as if you were going to step. The body doesn't move. The body doesn't move. Pick up the foot. The body moved. Pick it up off the ground. Off the ground. And hold it flat like this. Yeah, hold it flat like that. Just an inch off the ground. Body upright, and the body doesn't move. Put it down. Don't let the body move. Pick it back up. Not even a millimeter. Put it back down, and then slide it back. So the brain's most engaging task is movement, posture, alignment. And so we have very rich neurons in the feet, the ankles, the knees, and especially the hips and the lower back. And so in Tai Chi, what we're doing is we're getting down on this leg and taking this, and we're taking the brain through its most trying function and breaking it to pieces, teasing it all apart, right? And slowing it down. The Chinese say, if you can do something slowly without a problem, you can do it quickly without a problem. So they always practice things very, very slowly. So you put the foot out there, pick it up. The body doesn't move at all. Put it down. Pick it back up. Don't move at all. Put it back down. Pick it up. Put it down and slide it back. So when you make a movement in Tai Chi, we step here, we put the foot out there, and there's no weight. The Chinese call it a cat step. So the foot's out there, completely uncommitted, and then we shift the weight, get the knee over the toe, and turn the back foot. So we break down the body's most difficult, challenging things, tease it apart, slow it down, so that we get the deepest level of brain stimulation that there is out there. That's my medical explanation for why Tai Chi is way up there, especially the old school Tai Chi rather than the new school Tai Chi, which is just kind of like, just kind of doing this, doing that, and it's not really going to challenge anybody. It's good for you, but it's not really going to challenge you. So here, let's go through some Tai Chi postures. So let's put our heels together like this. And so remember the body, the mind, right? Everything heavy, everything sinking. Remember the dantian, that middle part? And so we'll sink the weight onto the right leg, and we'll step out shoulder width with the left foot. And then we'll sink all the way over to the left side in order to pick up the right toe and move it around to the front and settle it shoulder width apart, and as if we're standing on railroad tracks with the other foot. And then come to the middle and stand up. And when you stand up, you want to let your legs relax. Remind yourself to relax. What we find is that we're always carrying around a lot of unnecessary tension. So, you know, when you're standing there, you want your legs to be like butter. Or a sack of water, a water bag. Okay? And here's our first posture. Extend the hands. And down. And we turn to the side and make a big ball. And then shift the weight here. And now we're going to take our first step. And we're going to step out and we're going to step shoulder width. So don't step on a line with the other heel. You want to be shoulder width, which is out here. And remember, step with that empty foot and don't let the body come off the vertical. Put the foot down and pick it up. Just an inch. The whole foot, not just the heel. Put the foot down. And now shift the weight. Shift the weight and we get to 50-50. Feel your weight evenly placed on the legs. And the knee is going to come over the toe now. And then turn the waist and turn the back foot and turn the back foot on the heel so that the foot is 45 degrees. Tai Chi has been called, stay there. Tai Chi has been called the art of equilibrium. Very good, very good. Very good. Okay, passable, passable. Good. Now your feet are parallel. Yeah, knee over the toe. Very good, knee over the toe. Golly, really? I hire you as a first-time class, so it'd be so stress-free. Very good. So, yeah, get the knee over the toe. And see, nobody, yeah, no, golly, everybody shoulder width. Yeah, come on up. Look at this. Come on up. So he's kind of standing on a line here. Don't move. It's fine. It's just for instructional purposes. So his foot is on this line, and this foot line is pointing at his heel. You guys see that? Mm-hmm. So he's kind of like, don't move. He's kind of like a man on a surfboard, right? But Tai Chi is the art of equipoise. So I want that foot still, don't move. This foot, this line here. See, the heels are on the same line there. You see what I'm saying? All of you had it. And he would have it, except he turned his foot. Don't turn his foot. But since he's a man on a surfboard, and Tai Chi is the art of equipoise, i.e. balance, right? Finding your space in the world and being secure there, he's not really secure, right? Like just, you know, very, very, very cheatery. Okay, so now, don't move that foot. Let's turn this foot. Good. Now we're better. Now get the knee over the toe. Turn the waist to the front. Drop this foot down. And now when I turn the waist this way. Now when I push him, he's a lot more steady. So it's amazing to me the geometry of Tai Chi and how beautifully thought out it is. And there was a woman who, at the University of San Francisco, University of California, San Francisco, and she did an extensive study on middle-aged people who were serious practitioners of Tai Chi. And I think her research came out like 10 years ago, and the Post picked it up and did a study on it. And I called them up because I was trying to get them to do include my teacher, but they said he's too old for our parameters. He was like 80 at that point in time. He said we want to be 40 and 60-year-olds. But the takeaway from her story was Tai Chi people have beautiful brains. Beautiful brains, you know, just so well preserved against dementia and Alzheimer's. And so I was asking, you know, my Tai Chi colleagues, can we think of anybody who was like a serious student of Tai Chi that went crazy, that got Alzheimer's, dementia, and nobody can think of them. And then I missed this lecture, but they told me that, yeah, somebody has actually done research and found that, yeah, it's just wonderful for preserving the brain as we age. So here, let's do a couple more. So don't forget what you've already learned. You guys are too good. You're going to crush my soul if you start, you know, losing your Tai Chi instincts now. Let's go back here. So we bring up the hands. And where are we thinking about with our mind? The center. And down. And then turn the body. And shift the weight to the right. And now pick up that leg and take that step, that phantom step, that cat step. Put it down, pick it up, just an inch, the body doesn't move. Make sure it's shoulder width, and make sure the foot is pointing straight ahead. Then, put the weight down, put the foot down, turn the body, get the knee over the toe, turn the body, turn the back foot. Now we'll keep going. We'll turn the body this way. We'll form another ball. You see a lot of balls in Tai Chi. Big balls, holding the hands in a big ball like this. Our left hand is the top part of the ball. And here we take this foot and we step it out. Once again, shoulder width. Don't have faith in it. Look down at it and make sure. Shoulder width, the foot pointing straight ahead. And then shift the weight, get to 50-50. Remember the relaxation. Remember the heaviness. Remember the comfort. Remember the fun. And turn the waist. Turn the foot and come to the front. Knee over the toe, and you relax. Yeah, pretty good. So to that point of how well thought out Tai Chi is, this is not really comfortable. It's not as comfortable as this would be. So that's why you turn the foot like that. Then you're not dragging the knee around like this. Yeah? It really is perfect. It really is perfect. Come on up. What time are we supposed to quit? So the slowness of Tai Chi, the exercise is there to just do one thing. And that's what makes it unique. And that's cultivate Chi. You know, the stuff that the mechanistic West says, you know, doesn't exist. But like I said, medical science says, yes, it does. Subtle energy. And it can be cultivated. In fact, NIH a few years ago did an extensive study where they invited a whole bunch of people to come and get their subtle energy measured. And as far as I know, no Tai Chi people went. It was just like touch for health kind of people. You know, people that do kind of like the laying on of hands and things like that. And I remember a long time ago, a guy came from, I think, Czechoslovakia, and his name is Mitak Virkus. And he settled in Bethesda, very near NIH, and you know, set up a touch for health kind of practice. And he got the top thing. They put him in a room with these copper plates. And you know, he sat there and meditated, and he had the largest amount of subtle energy. But the Chinese make a distinction. They make a distinction between healing Qi and Zhen Qi, or genuine Qi. And Tai Chi is the genuine Qi. And as far as I know, I don't know of anybody who's done a study to see what happens to subtle energy, or is it the same subtle energy when you're talking Zhen Qi as opposed to healing Qi. And so, you know, in Chinese culture, you have the Tao Te Ching, and which says, you know, return to the uncarved block. So in Tai Chi, you're relaxing and sinking, and you really are becoming thicker, and heavier and more powerful. And you can't see it, you know, you can only feel it. And so the essence of Tai Chi as a martial art is that you have this power and this thickness and substantiality as you're moving, or when you're touched, that is advantageous because you become like the big brother pushing around the little brother. And the little brother, no matter what he does, he can't overcome the mass of the big brother. So, you know, when you relax in Tai Chi, you just feel the Qi start gathering inside you and filling you up. So that, you know, you've got your body here, and it's just, you know, from the middle and into the head and into the arm, a feeling like you're being filled by your attire, and you're being, or a ball, and you're just being filled by that air. Professor Cheng, in his first book, he describes Qi as, he said, you know, Qi is, well, I call it consciousness. And he said it's like the amassing of, you know, nothing is more pliable than a drop of water or a puff of breeze. But when you amass them and they're moving in a unified way, you know, what stands in front of a typhoon? You know, the waves of the typhoon, the wind of the typhoon. So that's kind of what Tai Chi is. It's taking consciousness, which can't be any more ephemeral, and just amassing it through the meditation. And this just doesn't seem to happen in sitting meditation because they have no martial arts lore. They don't have any lore. So, and the Chinese call that substantiality, they call it root, because it is like the root of a tree. I remember I was doing push hands with my teacher, and you know, he always, and I pushed him out 3 times. And you just didn't do that to this guy. And then I saw that he really wasn't paying attention. And then after the 3rd time, he kind of went, huh. And so then we set up and did it again, and he just stood there like this. And it was literally, you know, like pushing on the biggest tree on this campus. It's just totally immovable. So, here, come here. So we'll stand here like this. Yeah, good. And so you're going to put your hand on my gut, and I'm going to put my hand on your gut. What do you weigh? 175. 175? So we're about the same. So, okay, so you push on me and I push on you. Okay, let's do it again. Push. Do it again. Do it again. Okay, so we're about the same. But I can do this with guys who weigh 280, and they just can't push me. I just have a better connection with the ground than they do. And it's just, I don't know where it comes from. It's just, and it's the most miraculous feeling. It's just you being filled by this doggone thing. And all you have to do is relax. I don't know if these chairs are substantial. Well, let's try it. Here. Okay, I'm going to sit here. All right, so, and you get a stance where you feel secure. You're going to try and move me out of this chair slowly. So we see if this thing, what, here, won't you, okay, all right, so step to me, and you're going to take my arm. Here, get closer. Okay, so you're pushing me, just push me, and I want you to push me out of the chair. Okay, well, you're past me, so come towards my body. Good, push. Good. Okay, let's try again. Come back. Come a little lower. You okay that way? Here, if you do it that way, if you do it that way, bring this foot forward. Which one? This one forward. You'll be more stable, and then move this one back. Okay, good. All right, and so you push on me. Push. Yeah, you got to push. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, push me out of the chair. Yeah, go again. Okay, push. 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 So it really doesn't matter. As long as I relax, I just become like, one of my friends said, it's kind of like, you're just like this lazy old dog I used to have. When that dog didn't want to move, nobody could move that dog. You're like that. So anyway, thank you. So, you know, all living things have consciousness. And medicine calls it subtle energy. And as we relax and we do the meditation, some Tai Chi colleagues of mine, they call it Tai Chi alchemy. This alchemic sort of thing just comes together. And for me, it's always just sort of proven God's sense of humor, right? All right, we think, you know, since the Greeks, the Olympics, go out and train and, you know, work really hard and run really fast. And so there's always sort of like in nature, you know, and in this world, there's sort of like a cutesy little surprise, you know, a little piece of irony that you just wouldn't know was there. That if you slow down, you know, stabilize, relax, and sink, and go the opposite way of what's frenetic, beautiful things happen. So, any questions for you guys?
So how often, when you do a session of Tai Chi, how long is it for you?
For me?
Do it?
Yeah.
Or
well,
the average person would do it each day?
Professor said in his book, he said, you know, it would take 10 minutes. It would take 10 minutes to do the entire Tai Chi set, what we call the Tai Chi Form. It's got 34 postures. Anybody have any experience doing Tai Chi? A little bit?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I've seen how, you think it looks easy, but I've seen people like, you know, break a sweat.
It depends on the style. There is a style called Chen style, which is very, very athletic. And it really, in our school, you know, Professor Cheng would say, you know, look at the Tai Chi classics. It says slow movement, even movement, so none of this kind of stomping and stuff like that. So really, Chen stylists, you know, don't like to say that, but it really doesn't subscribe to the Tai Chi classics. And if it doesn't subscribe to the Tai Chi classics, you know, what the hell is it? But yes, you're right. In a class, you know, when I'm having students, you know, stand on one leg like this, and which, you know, prompted my student to say, I've never experienced anything like this. That's what we're talking about. I can't remember the other point I was going to make. Any other questions?
When I've seen people do it, they're usually doing it by water. Is it something, you know, is that sort of a normal area? Find a body of water and do it, or
Nah.
or does it just happen that I'm there and
Yeah.
I've seen people do it by the river or
Yeah.
harbour? Or...
Yeah, you're good luck.
Okay.
Yeah, you were in a nice place. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, so the original Tai Chi Form was about 120 postures, and it would take at least 20-25 minutes to do. And so another interesting bit of Tai Chi history is Cheng Man-Ch'ing, Professor Cheng, he gave us the short form. And he did that not because he said, I'm going to do something, just whack-a-doodle on my own. He was asked to teach Tai Chi to the cadets at the Chinese military academy during the Japanese-Chinese War in the 30s. And he said, this is ridiculous trying to teach these cadets 120 postures. He said, I could get by if it was just 37. So he sent a letter out to all of his fellow classmates because their teacher had just died. And he said, listen, I'm thinking of shortening it. And I don't want to just do this kind of, wild hair thing on my own, out of my own ego. Here's the need, here's the reason, what do you think? And they all said, we think it's a great idea, go ahead and do it. And so the world was given a Tai Chi short form. And now that's almost all that's taught, And so, but it all came from that event in the 30s from Professor Cheng. What I find is that, and the Tai Chi classics say this, that the longer you do Tai Chi, the less practice you need. And it's also a geometric progression, whereas, because like I said, also I just wanted to mention, it's interesting when you look at the medical research on Tai Chi, whether or not you believe in subtle energy or Qi, what the medical research finds is that the most distinctive result of Tai Chi practice is the cultivation of smooth muscle. So the body has two types of muscle. It has its skeletal muscle, which is our shell that makes us move. And then we've got the internal muscle, or the smooth muscle, which makes the internal organs go. And that stuff is way, way more efficient and way more strong. So so they find on muscle examinations of people and taking actual slices that people who practice Tai Chi, they're getting that smooth muscle benefit. So I like to tell people, even if you don't believe in Qi, you are changing your body with Tai Chi in ways that are completely unique. And also, Tai Chi is completely unique. It's only Chinese. And it's being copied around the world, and people call it Tai Chi Chur or Tai Chur or whatever. But, if you're slowing down and if you're meditating and doing slow movements and, just gradually separating and playing with these hard efforts of the brain to separate weight and move slowly into these large steps, it's Tai Chi. Any other questions? Yes?
When you're talking about focus on the center, are you talking about engaging it or just kind of forcing your thoughts that direction?
Sort of holding it in your thoughts, Almost like, that's...
But not like engaging your muscles down here,
no,
or does that count?
No, yeah. You don't have to do that, okay? Because really, Qi is consciousness. So if you think, it does, right? So if you just focus on the area, it'll go there. I remember an analogy that Professor Cheng used to have for beginner students, and he would say, let's all do this. Put out your hand. Put out your hand. And then think about your thumb. Focus on your thumb. Focus on your thumb like you would focus on your dantian. He said, does it tingle? Does it light up? Do you feel the space inside? That's your Qi. So over time, just by repetition, and by moving it through certain areas of the body and doing the body in a certain way, that consciousness thickens, becomes more substantial, more and more powerful, more and more powerful. Any other questions?
Yeah. What's
Yes?
the relationship between Tai Chi and other martial arts? You said that Tai Chi is harder, but I'm wondering about the purpose of each of them and how that changes what you're doing and why.
Right. They were all for warriors, soldiers, and all for spiritual cultivation. Right? All of the Japanese martial arts, they're Shinto, it's a naturalistic theology. The samurai was to cultivate their martial capabilities and their artistic and scholarly capabilities. What distinguishes Tai Chi is that all of these others say that, you know, we're cultivating the Qi, and they would be, okay? Because anything is self-cultivation, right? Except unless you're destroying yourself with an addiction or something. But Tai Chi is the one that really is a moving meditation. And the Chinese have a hierarchy of exercises, and that's the big overarching category is called Qigong. Have you ever heard of that, Qigong? So Qigong just means Qi, work. Remember I said Gong Fu, work, Qigong, you're working your Qi. And that's all sorts of things. You know, you'll see people doing this, you'll see people, you know. And they're doing it in a meditative way. That's Qigong. It's all over the place. You know, everybody has their own, and their own family has their own Qigong exercises. So Tai Chi is underneath, it is a form of Qigong. But Qigong also really, you know, you'll find people that, you know, claim that they have some internal capability. Yeah, so you're working the consciousness and doing so by relaxing and slowing down. None of those other martial arts will do that. They may incorporate some slow practice sometimes, but Tai Chi doesn't have any fast practice. As Professor Cheng said, you don't need it. If you can do it slowly, without a problem, you can do it quickly without a problem. The medical research gets into this, and then, you know, when you talk to Tai Chi friends, they all have a story. You know, a great story of something dropping and poof, you know, like the peanut butter jar dropping, right? And then the knife dropping too, and, you know, you just, you know, catch it. And lots of people have stories like that after they started Tai Chi. It's because you're relaxing the brain. You're clearing out the noise from the brain so that the brain works more efficiently. It makes fewer mistakes. The best story I heard about that was a woman in New York, and she said, yeah, I reached into a drawer, I reached into a cabinet, and the vase fell, and I caught it at belt buckle level in pitch dark. I like that one. Whoa. Oh. So yeah, just making the brain more efficient. Turning down the noise. Tai Chi emphasizes that slow, the dantian, the meditative aspect, the slowness. Other martial arts will get into that sometimes, right? And Tai Chi never goes, you're never exerting your muscles, right? You're always relaxed. And the power you just find is that filling that comes from inside.
Is it something introduced in schools or traditions
I
in
don't
China,
think so.
or just
No, you know,
if
it's,
someone's interested in it, they'll find a class to do it? Or
yeah, you know, in China, you know, modern China, modern Asia, they don't really, they consider it, you know, to be for old people. And in the youth culture, you know, China has a big youth culture too that don't even consider it. Yeah.
and how far back does it go? Like
That's the
the
mystery.
origins of it?
That's the mystery.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the mystery. It could be one of two things. And in fact, my older brother, my older classmate, wrote an article about that very thing. I haven't read the article yet because some new information came out. There was a Taoist monk called Sun Lukang, and I think, you know, from like a couple centuries AD. He had a dream about a snake and a bird fighting, and so the sinewiness of the snake and the relaxation of the snake, because also in Tai Chi I didn't even touch upon it, but if he is attacking me, pushing me, I don't go against him. If he's, anything he does, I don't resist him. Okay, we call it push hands. So I never, you know, no matter where he pushes, push. no matter where he goes, I'm never resisting. And this comes from the classic on war from Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu's classic on war, which is to, in a fight, drag them away from their sources so that they have to spend all of this energy, sending food and supplies up there. So you stretch them off their base. You yield A in order to take advantage of B. And so as he's pushing, push, I yield here. Oh, look, he's off base, and now I own him, right? And I'm just feeling which way he wants to go. Because once again, if he wants to go this way, he's got to build those forces to make those movements go, right? And that's all subtle energy, and the brain can watch that stuff. And modern medical research has proven we have amazing capacities for listening to subtle energy. So as he's pushing on me, push, cool, okay, right? So, he went that way, and I helped him go that way, right? Now he's making changes, right? And so I just helped him make his changes. Right? And so I've got a stronger base than he does, because I've been doing Tai Chi. And he's very, very tense, and so that amplifies. It's like, the big-headed kid, right? You just get him going the right way and just, really amplify the movement. And that's Tai Chi as a martial art. Another thing is that whenever we attack someone, we brace. And so Tai Chi says, don't go against that bracing. Don't meet that, okay? As I come against him, he's saying, I got to do something, and now he's responding. So I don't meet that. I kind of threaten him, don't meet it, and then I go, right? So as I go, so here we go, hop. So everybody has that hop. It's a survival reflex. So it's an interesting thing of don't confront. Rather than hit them, rather than confront them, no, be a little bit more subtle about it, because there's a big reflex in here that we can take advantage of. There we go. So he goes, I don't meet that, because then we'll clash. I drop, let him expire, and then go. And you can just really amplify it, bigger and bigger ways. And so Tai Chi calls it push hands. And so the object is to be soft and use the relaxation. And so as he's pushing me, take a longer step. Yeah. So he's pushing me, now push with the other hand. So he can really get me in some interesting configurations, push down here, right? And so again, I referenced the huge neurological nets in the hips and in the legs and in the spine, right? If I don't get lazy, because remember in medicine, the first law of rehab, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So I'm using these things. And so, we get this stouter, I said stout, but it's really thick. It's like fudge, you get something with somebody good. Like a big, thick ball of pudding, right? And it won't move. And then, you push on it, and you expire, and then you put all your energy into that thing, and then like a big elastic ball, it's boom. So if he punches at me, so, I avoid the punch, and then we're kind of in doing the Tai Chi thing, and I have my advantage.
I won't ever forget it at camp. One of the kids managed to get right at the right angle.
Yes.
And I was the guinea pig, of course, helping. But this is a 7-year-old, and I'm in my almost 20.
Yes.
I'm 2 to 3 times this way, and he flips me over.
Mm-hmm.
Because he gets it. Of course, had he let go, he'd have stood up, but he held on, so I wound up flinging him across the room. But
yeah. Yes, if we get lined up right, we're really rather vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Lines of stand there. So lines of vulnerability are, the hardest thing in Tai Chi is like if they just don't, like that, just a straight-on attack like that. So this is very vulnerable. This is very vulnerable. And also along these lines, it's just very vulnerable. It's hard to stay there. So it's kind of, loosening and thickening and making those areas responsive and developing the root. How are we doing on time? Oh, one more minute. Last question or two?
So if somebody were interested in starting to learn how to practice Tai Chi, what would you recommend? Besides driving to DC and taking a class with you.
Driving to DC does not sound de-stressing.
Yeah. And getting a parking ticket is even less distressing. So, I have a lot of stuff online that you can take a look at.
And so people can practice on their own kind of thing, learn the moves.
Yes. Well, I have 6 or 7 introductory exercises that are taken from the form. So it's easier to learn, like this one, just doing that. And then this is number 2, right? So that you can start piecing it together and have something to do that is as Tai Chi-like as anything else you want. It's Capitol Hill Tai Chi.
Okay.
Capitol Hill Tai Chi.com and take a look at that.
But it was interesting because you said, right, it's this is not the way in other styles you learn, like katas, and you learn them very, very slow in order to then build the energy. And it is about learning to move the chi.
Exactly. Exactly.
But then it's like you never move. Like you said, you never go anywhere else.
Right.
You just stay in the slow
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Professor always said the only bad thing about Tai Chi is it takes a long time, and it can also be boring. Because you're holding postures and you're not moving and you're meditating. And so I always tell my students if you have a hard time, I mean it's always hard to find practice time, but I know you're watching TV. And it may not be optimal practice, but get your butt off the couch and do your Tai Chi. All right. Well, any last question? Yes.
Have they ever used Tai Chi to, with neuroplasticity, to help kind of rejigger the brain?
I don't know, but it does do that. I don't know how far the research has gone, but it's been found to be extraordinarily helpful for PTSD, for example. Well, another year coming out for your cultural competency. You're always a delightful audience.
Thank you.
Good luck to you in your
Endeavors.
endeavors.
Thank you.
It's interesting. Things here, snacks.
Yeah.
Oh,
most important time of the day.
I'm sorry, guys. We filmed this talk, and
Any disclosures?
Yeah, are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Anybody not okay with it? I think it was mostly me. Okay.
I didn't get flipped over this time, so.
Right. Okay, good deal.
You've done this before. You played this role before.
Yes, I've been beaten around a lot.
So you are unstable. You are insecure. You were unstable.
Thank you for coming.
The closest thing I've had is if you've ever tried walking through there's enough waves.
Right.
If I had a big one, I would just brace it.
Yeah.
Or I could
No, I'm not.
taking it back up.
Oh, how funny. Yes. I take exercise classes. I prefer always because I can't remember. Yes. I can do they pick up that hand, and I don't pick up this hand, I pick up that hand.
Heartwarming. In their little videotape when they were going through. Yes, yeah, love it.
Yep.
Yeah. I missed this.
You know what that's like.
And you're reading it as you're losing them.
So they called everybody in the school and said, come over.
Right, you're going to love it.
And you don't have to be in if you don't want to be no peer pressure.
Yeah, I'm coming from New York. I'm from New York. I'm coming from New York. When I first moved to New York from LA, it was very it's Yeah,
thinking,
after 5 years of New York, I'm like, I don't need to run. I mean, it's lovely, but I don't need to run too.
So are you the only student from Alaska?
I am.
I was out there looking at all the license plates out there, and I saw an Alaska license plate.
A rare one.
Yeah.
And my kids, I have to take
Grew up in
them.
South Florida.
I had to take them to mix snow. They were like, I think they were like 7 and 5. But we went to Colorado because they had never met snow. So they just didn't understand it. And we told them, okay, we have to put on all these clothes. And they'd be like very confused, like, why are we putting on all these clothes? I'm like, because it's cold when you get out there. And they, yes, they were very funny. It was slightly hilarious.
I think I like it. I'm going to need to do it.
Well, anyway, I got
So
you.
this makes me very tempted
Hey,
to learn Tai Chi.
they got
like
planes.
to go,
Yeah.
And now they got a lot of the low-cost carriers actually
Like-
fly there.
because I just feel like, I mean, I could do
They're
I'm
probably
happy to learn the pieces at home. But I was
Unfortunately,
wondering
this
if
was a
you
bad summer because it was both
I
very,
don't
very
know.
hot, very, very dry. There's lots of
But it could have been
big
very
fires.
Very tempted.
But you can fly up in winter. You'd be amazed how cheap it is.
Well, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.